Well, hello everybody, and welcome to a video that I wanted to make around business pricing. This has got to be, I think, probably the touchiest subject when it comes to business from both the customer's point of view and also from the business owner's point of view. So many of us have a hard time trying to figure out how much to charge because we have perception around the clients that we're going to service and how they're going to view us and how they're going to deem us, and whether they're going to be happy with the price, whether there are going to be pushbacks. What do you do with that? Now, let's approach this from the extreme example or the extreme end of this discussion, which is no matter how cheap you are, there will always be somebody that complains about how expensive you are. Because as a coach said to me, it's never about price. It's never about price because for the right client who understands the value that you provide, it is perfectly reasonable that you charge what you charge. For somebody who doesn't understand the value, they don't get it, and therefore, because they don't understand the value, the price doesn't make sense. And so you're always going to lose them. So there's two very key components to this. One is you have to get the right kind of client who is going to be able to understand the value you're providing. Point two, you actually have to provide enough value to make the price justifiable to that right client. So there's two big elements that I've found. When you find the right client, when you provide what they need in a way that they understand and they're happy with, then it's a win-win. And then they can't wait to pay you to do what you can do for them because they have confidence you can deliver it. What you're going to deliver is going to give them the outcome that they need, and everybody's happy. And so when that occurs, everything's wonderful. The mismatch that most businesses have, myself included for such a long time, is that you have people who you pitch your idea to, you pitch your product and your pricing to, and they come back and they say, that is ridiculous, I'm not paying that. I don't understand how you could charge that much or ask that much money for that. All they're saying is they don't understand the value. Now, as I said, the main reasons that people get upset about pricing is because either they don't understand the value or there is not the value there. Now, that could be because you don't provide enough value in what you do. That's something you can fix. It may also be that your solution to what you're trying to present to them isn't fixing a big enough problem for them. I'll give you a very real world example. Part of the reason I'm making this video is because this happened to me today. Now, I designed a solution in our off-grid product range for a client who had said he would like to look at an off-grid solution for this particular issue he was trying to overcome. He was most upset when I gave the price because he looked at the problem that he had, looked at the solution, and went, that price does not justify the solution that I want. It's only a small problem, and that's a big price tag. Therefore, the discrepancy between the problem and the cost to fix it is so mismatched that just makes that's ludicrous. It couldn't possibly be the right solution. And so he was quite upset at the price. What he was upset at is the mismatch between what he thought the problem was and what he needed to fix, my lack of communicating that accurately, and then the call kind of just fell over. Now, what could I have done differently? Well, one of the first things was to more accurately identify what the problem is in the beginning. See, I was solving the problem from my point of view. I wasn't solving the problem from his point of view. So budget has to be one of the discussions that you have especially when you gauge that somebody is they're not the perfect fit for your situation. They're a bit more of a maybe we could make that fit. So you already got a bit of a mismatch you've got to figure out. So you need to be, for me, I think I needed to be quite a bit clearer about how our product and our solution could work, but how it was probably a little bit overkill compared to what his other options would be, and then gauge whether he's interested in pursuing this more detailed, more expensive way to fix this problem. And now I know the answer to that would have been no. So if I had have delved into that and asked more questions in the beginning, it would have been a very different outcome. Now let's couple that with a conversation I had with a lovely lady a couple of weeks back who had been given the absolute runaround by a bunch of off-grid installers. People weren't giving her straight advice. Nobody would listen to her point of view. It was just push, buy our thing. This is going to be your solution. And so we sat down, we had a conversation, and over a couple of hours worth of conversations, I think there was 2 different calls in there, and I understood completely what she was trying to achieve. I knew our product was a perfect fit for what she needed. And so we just talked through what could be done, what we could do, how our solution would actually be a great fit for her problem, how that was going to benefit her, all these kinds of things, and around what it was going to do to actually solve this problem. And she was so happy with the solution and with the rapport we had built in everything that we had discussed in what we'd put forward, that the conversation went to, can we push the price up a bit, and what can I get if I push the price up? How much more can I get in here? So we presented a solution, and she went, I am so happy with that solution. I would like to spend some more and get some more of this solution because it's such a good solution. So they're 2 contrasts to the exact same product that we sell in our off-grid solar business, and just how perception of the value associated with fixing the problem can either work really, really well when it's matched well, but also how it can go very, very badly when it's not matched correctly. Now, let me drive this back to the trade services business, which is where my background was for so long, and well over a decade of not understanding this in my own business. And so what happens is we assume the solution because we have the context of how we would solve it. Now, some people will come to you and say, I have a problem, tell me what I need to do to fix it, and let's just do that. Okay, that's wonderful. Most people are going to say, I have a problem, I've figured out what I need to fix it, now I need you just to be the labor to come and fix it, basically. I know what I want, or I think I know what I want, but they'll say, I know what I want, I just want you to come and do it. Oftentimes as tradespeople, we look at it and go, that's the wrong solution for that problem. What you actually need is this. Where we go wrong is we don't communicate to them through a series of asking questions. This is the key. Through a series of asking questions to get them, because they think they already know. So you're like, oh, okay, that's great. Agree with them. And then say, so what about this? Because when you do that, it's going to cause issues over here. Let's take a very simple one. This is from an electrical point of view. Somebody wants a bunch of lights put into their lounge room. They want to get rid of the old 80s lighting and put some down lights through their lounge and living space. And so they come to you and say, right, I figured it out. I want 6 lights in here and I want 8 lights over here. Let's take another one. I want 6 in the lounge room and I want 5 over the dining room. Here's the layout that I've got. Okay, no dramas. We start to look at their layout. Now, I know from experience that layout's not going to work because there's a hip of the roof that runs down in the corner, and where they've got that corner downlight, I can just about guarantee is going to be on a truss. And, there's these other issues. So we then, talk about, is this the layout? Yep, this is definitely what I want. Okay, I can do that. I can mark it all out. What do you want to do if we hit a truss? Oh, can we tell? It's like, well, kind of, we can do this, we can do that, but if it ends up in the way and that layout that you're dead set has to happen, if that's not going to work, what are we going to do then? Then all of a sudden you're asking them because they've apparently got the solution. So you ask questions to highlight things they don't have answers for. And then you say, okay, so when you've got 2 lighting circuits, obviously this is going to connect into this lighting circuit. Is that how you want it done? They're probably going, I didn't know I had 2 lighting circuits. I guess you just hook it into that. So you're happy for it to be connected into that. And then they're going to start deferring back to you going, well, you're the electrician. You do it where you want. It's like, well, that's fine. But if I was designing this, I would actually do this differently. Like, I'm just wanting to make sure that we're going to get the solution you're looking for, because you've obviously got this fairly well mapped out. So I'm just checking and making sure that we're going to be all on the same page so we don't get mismatched on this. And we keep down this track of asking more questions and asking more questions. And if you're fairly competent in your trade, you should be able to ask particular questions that are going to cause the client to realize they don't have the answers. At some point, the conversation should get to a bit of an impasse where it's like, okay, what do you think we should do? And then you can say, look, in my opinion, and you be very humble about it, don't try and be pushy, and you say, look, in my opinion, this is how I would go about doing it. And then let them think about it. And they will either come back and go, look, you know what, I didn't realize this, and this. Yeah, okay, I understand. We need to do it that way. That's going to be the better outcome. Let's do that. Or they may be insistent on doing it their way. Either way, if it doesn't work, you've already had the conversation to say, look, if we hit problems, how are we going to overcome this? And it can then alleviate a lot of the stress that comes into it. Part of that, when they want things done that we know might be a little bit difficult or costs are potentially going to blow out, it's not going to be as simple as they say. Just put things into the conversation of saying, so if we come up with issues, if this doesn't work as smooth and easily as you're saying, you want this done, you reckon it will be done in 4 hours. I think it will take a little longer. We'll do the best we can. If it takes longer than the 4 hours you want it to, what do we do then? Are you happy for me to just stop at the end of 4 hours and we just do what we can do, or do you want the job finished? And so bringing things to a question and letting them decide is a much easier way. What we tend to do, and I know this is true for myself back when I was doing a lot of my trade work, is that we tend to not want to have confrontational conversations around, hey, what are we going to do when this comes up? Because I know pricing is going to become an issue. I know costing is going to be an issue. Are we working on fixed price quote? If we are, that's fine. How are we navigating this? Are we doing hourly rates? Having all of the conversation up front is going to save you all the stress on the back end. The other thing that you need to do is make sure that you have signed contracts. So you need a quote with a signature on the bottom of it before you start work, or you need a work authorization so that when it comes to actually doing the work and getting paid, you have something in writing. I can't stress that enough. From a trade services type of point of view, and look, really for any business, you need something in writing where the client has actually given you permission. But where this pricing thing gets unstuck is that generally the idea that the client comes into the conversation with, we as the tradespeople know it's not the correct solution, but you can't just say this isn't the correct solution. You do need to work through with them through a series of questions, where through those questions you can highlight where the miscommunication, the misunderstanding is. Once you rectify that, and the client realizes they don't have the answers to all these questions that you need answered, since they're coming to you with this 3/4 solution, they need these answers before you can move forward, then they start to fall back to you as the professional to say, hey, what should we do here? So that's really part of this process that I never understood. It does make it harder when you're doing smaller jobs. If you are just doing $200, $300, $400 jobs, it can be harder to spend that much time on a small job. My suggestion would be this probably isn't the right conversation for those little jobs. But for anything that's a couple of $1,000s or more, you need to spend the time to make sure the client understands the problem, all the potential problems, how you're going to overcome them, and have an agreement on how you're going to approach that, how you're going to overcome the problem, so that they understand the value of the solution that you're providing. And if the solution that you can offer is not going to fix their problem, or it's not the right solution for their problem, be okay to walk away. Just say, and we do this all the time, people have an idea of what they want with their off-grid solar, and it turns out they actually need a hybrid system, not an off-grid system. And we don't do hybrid, but we give them advice on what they should look for. We give them advice on where they can go to find somebody who's qualified in that role. And so it allows them to actually get the right information even though we're not going to win the job, we're going to have a much happier person that we're dealing with, rather than trying to sell them something that we could make work, but the value equation isn't there, and trying to get them to understand the value equation, is basically impossible, unless they just like us and they just want to give us money for no particular reason. But if you've got to explain value, there's going to be a mismatch because it's the wrong fit. So be okay to walk away if you know it's the wrong fit. And if it's the right fit, then get them to understand how big of a problem they actually have with the solution they think they're going to throw at it, and explain to them or ask them questions. What about this? What about that? What about that? And they start going, oh, I hadn't considered that. Didn't realize that was a problem. Oh, okay, that's annoying. How do we fix that? Then once they start asking you, what should we do? How do I fix that? How do we not have this problem? Then you can start offering your solution. So I hope that helps. This has just been a bit of an unwrap for, based on some things that happened today, but just realizing that having that same solution and having a great fitting client for the solution, and having a client whose problem doesn't fit our solution, and getting these two very different responses from people who are coming to us thinking they're after the same solution when they're actually after two very different things, and that was the mismatch. And you can fix that by asking better questions. All right, take care. We'll chat to you soon.